Hey, it's Out of Darts. I wanted to just show off a new switch plate for the Nemesis. I've been working on putting together the info for the tutorial for this blaster, and I wanted it to be really thorough, and I realized that at least a dozen people have written asking for a switch plate. Now, I already made one for the firing switch, which installs really simply. You just glue this in place with some super glue or cyanacrylite rather, and or whatever kind of glue. Really hot glue would be fine too. You put this little piece on here and you've got a perfect switch. Now, seriously, at least a dozen people asked, why don't I make one for here? And at first I was like, well, it doesn't seem like it's worth it. And then I looked at the space in here and realized, actually, it's really good. So to install this switch plate, the plate is very simple. It's got two parts, an extension for your trigger, your rev trigger, and an actual plate itself. Now the plate itself is shaped exactly like the pieces that are in here, so you simply just push it in place, and then you grab your little trigger here, and that should be glued in place. It can be hot glue, or again super glue would be my preference. And then you take a 21 amp switch, whatever your preference, and pop that in. And that's basically it. And so you can have this in here really quick. When you do the demolition to actually get this to fit, it's really obvious because you'll lay this in and you'll realize, oh, there's a little piece of plastic here in my way. So then you'll Dremel this out or cut this out. I did this in about 10 seconds with snips. So all in all, you can have both of these switch plates glued in place, I'd say in about 2 minutes, with the most finicky part being attaching that and just checking a placement. Now, I've designed these so that if they are properly lined up here, you can see this lines up with this front edge here for that switch. This top trigger will hit both switches. You should be able to hear two switch hits. Actuations, rather. And that's great because then if a user picks up your blaster that doesn't understand how the rev trigger works, which I've definitely seen when I've demoed blasters, they will be able to still fire. And when this is on a 2 or 3S LiPo, you've got enough torque that pulling the one trigger will get this up to full speed and firing in time to not cause a jam. So I feel like that adds a lot of reliability. You don't need to put the little plate back here anymore, but you do need to glue everything in place again with super glue. It is, as you can see, none of these are glued in currently, and they're very solid. I designed the tolerances really tight to make sure that it would be really foolproof. There's also plenty of room for two 16-gauge wires to pass through here, and then, of course, you have to Dremel the rest of your path. Now again, I promise I'll do a tutorial, but as many of you may know, I just had a baby girl and she's about 5 weeks old, and we are still not getting a whole lot of sleep. So it's been really hard for me to keep up on videos, and a tutorial video like that definitely takes the majority of a day between shooting and editing. But I promise I will get to it eventually here, hopefully in the next month. For those wondering about the Here Mini, it is coming out. We are looking at March right now. We're working on some things with a mag release to make it even more reliable and waiting on some parts for that, as well as expanding my print farm. And I hope to do a video about the print farm and my general setup in the shop here as well coming up. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the switch plate. These are for sale on my Etsy shop, of course. They're $3 for the two pieces, and you can also of course, buy the switches. I recommend a 21 amp switch down here because this is taking two full motors, and you can get away with just a 15 amp switch up here, or a cheap knockoff clone or whatever you like, because not nearly as much current on the pusher circuit. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm Out of Darts.